Sadashivasamarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmeti Murtiveda Vibhagine Yomavta Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Salva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanantam Satiguru Pranatoshmaham. Got that? There was a huge om coming from outside. Okay. So I got a question from Ruth. Shall we begin that with that one, Ruth? I will need your help because I didn't quite understand your question. So you say, Ramji insinuated that the nature of samsara is that we just continue to go round and round and round. So there is no doubt. I mean, that's clear. Now, what is samsara? It's just a will, you know, the will that drives us from vasanas to desires, fears, and then words and actions that somehow keeps our vasana load, you know, reinforced, and we keep our attachment to the world of names and forms that we believe to be real and to be designed to complete ourselves. This is samsara. So samsara, the nature of samsara is that we just continue to go round and round and round. There is no doubt about that, right? Okay. And then you say,
correct.
Relative to the discussion on Tuesday and that session, so you have to remember now the discussion on Tuesdays that you refer here, because I couldn't remember exactly. I couldn't make the association, you know?
Yeah. Well, it has to do with the fact that
Can you speak a bit louder, please?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear? Okay, if there's one Jivatman, and in the manifestation, why would that Jivatman not continue to reincarnate in spite of moksha?
Wait, if there is only one jiva, is that what you say?
Yeah.
If there's only one jiva, why this jiva keeps reincarnating? And then in the end, you said?
And if the creation is perfect and one, why wouldn't the jiva just keep, you know, in spite of karma, why wouldn't the jiva just keep manifesting and, you know, and being reincarnated?
Well, to begin with, there is a beginningless principle, a beginningless universal principle called the jiva.
Yeah.
In the same way that there is a beginningless principle called Maya, in the same way there is a beginningless principle called Ishvara.
Yes.
The beginningless principle called Jagata, the world, the universe, the cosmos. Okay?
Yes.
We have the Dharma field, and we have the creator Ishvara, yeah, that somehow plays with Maya, Maya being the three gunas, and projects his apparent order of reality. And then there it manifests itself as the Dharma field, okay, the universe, the cosmos. And then it needs consciousness appearing as a jiva, the experiencing entity, to come and experience, because the creation is designed for the purpose of being experienced by consciousness as the jiva. You understand? So what brings the creation about is jiva's ignorance, because Ishvara cannot produce a universe out of the blue in the same way that it cannot create the universe, but it cannot create an egg without a chicken. You understand? Ishvara needs a chicken to create an egg. But then we're going to scratch our heads and say, well, but where did the chicken come from? It came from the egg. So Ishvara needs both. So Ishvara needs, this manifestation is a play between Jiva and Ishvara, Jivas, and that there is a universal principle. The eternal Jiva is a universal principle, but the Jiva, it manifests as numberless Jivas, you know, numerous Jivas. So the Jivas, although it's a singular principle, universal principle, it manifests as many. There are many Jivas, and every Jiva comes to work its own karma. You understand? To go through. It comes from one Sanchita karma, and then Sanchita is going to produce the physical body, the subtle body, and the causal body. Sanchita karma actually is the subtle body. It produces the causal body that produces the subtle and the physical body. And the Jiva is born out of this ignorance root. Jiva is only born, the individual Jiva is only born because he's still under the spell of ignorance. Understand? And this is the play. The play is about these three principles, Ishvara, Jiva, and Jagat. And Jiva keeps coming back again because it's still under the spell of ignorance. Avidya is still operating. So let's carry on. What else?
Yeah. So the key is ignorance. But I guess what I'm saying is, if there's only really one Jiva, you know, there's other ignorance other than individual ignorance. I mean, you know, so anyway, it's kind of a moot point, but you explained that very well. The key is
now I want to make sure that you understand that, that there is one single eternal Jiva as a principle.
Yes.
But Jiva appears, you know, as many. We look into our planet, life on this planet, but who knows? Who knows how many Jivas in all corners of the universe, you know, maybe they experience this realm, this physical material realm in which they can just walk through duality until they understand the true nature of reality as non-dual, as consciousness alone. So the purpose of this creation, roots according to the scriptures, is to create, is to bring about a stage, the Dharma field, in which Jiva, which is consciousness by nature, but under the spell of ignorance, believes to be an individual, personality, one's notions, history, and so on, and it gets trapped in that misconception of I am the body mind and so on, and I feel insecure and small and blah, blah, blah. So this seems to be the very purpose, and that is what the scriptures say. The scripture of Vedanta says exactly that. This is a projection in which the Jiva appears as many Jivas, and each one of us, we are byproduct of our Sanchita karma. Understand? We are product of Maya. Maya brings about the three energies and brings about the five elements, and the five elements go evolving to become physical, chemical elements to constitute our physical body, and then the Jiva is there, incarnate, you know, embodied Jiva. So this Jiva is a product of matter, but most important, it's a product of its own causal body. You understand? It's born out of Ishvara's three energies and five elements, but it's also born out of its own Sanchita karma. You understand? And what is the Sanchita karma? It's the same vasana, in the vasanas of the individual soul. You understand? The individual soul, when it leaves the body, like for example, my mother-in-law, she left her body this very morning. Here it's morning. She finally left her body, and it was a beautiful, gentle death. You know, she left her body. So what happens with that beautiful soul? You know, it's I know she has a lot of love and attachment to life. So she's going to rush, being Rajasic as she was, she's going to rush and start demanding, I want a new body, I want a new body, and I want to go back because I mean, I'm an experiencing freak. I want to go there and meet my husband again and this and that and finish up some business. So what is that? Those are all the desires that we have for experience, desire for continuation of experiencing the field. You see how we get attached and trapped in samsara? We have these desires, and these desires, they were not resolved. So we resolve desire by playing the desire out, by going and experience what we want to experience, at least try to experience what we want to experience. But how about if we run out of time? We run out of time. Oh, the music stops. And I have still a lot of desires, latent desires. So these desires, that's a Chitta karma, desires and fears, all the things that are still screaming for more. So that's what brings about a new body. It uses the three energies and the five elements of Ishvara but it is composed by one's vasanas. The vasana is going to so this whole creation is a is a venture, it's a partnership between Ishvara and Jiva, because Jiva needs to keep supplying Ishvara with vasanas, and then vasanas, and then Ishvara designates, the vasanas to each one of its jivas, the individual jivas. It's an intelligent system, and everything is kept into account. You see, there is this image in the Vedas as is the Lord Ishvara. He's a small god with a long beard sitting in the clouds, and there is a little desk, and he's an accountant, and he's keeping track of each one's actions and results of actions, and then so that he knows what to give back to each one jiva. So of course this is just a figurative kind of image, So Ishvara is this intelligent system that knows exactly the sanchita karma of each one individual, so that it provides every embodied jiva with its prarabdha karma, as one's life circumstance. So Jesus, I want you to understand that there is one jiva, one attempt jiva as a principle, okay? But the jiva manifests as many.
So the rest of the question is, as a jiva, then does the jiva remain individuated, or does the jiva remain individuated always until the world becomes unmanifest? It's
yeah. The jiva, you see, the jiva exists without beginning. It means to say it has always been there.
Yeah.
The universe that we experience, the cosmos, is not a linear phenomenon with a beginning and an end. It is a cyclical phenomenon. So it's always been there, either manifest or unmanifest, as you said. You understand?
So once a jiva, always a jiva.
No. So the scriptures they tell us that the jiva is under the spell of ignorance. The jiva is confused, and it mistook its real nature, its real identity as the body mind. You understand? The jiva is already free because it is consciousness, and it does not have karma as consciousness. Until the end of the jiva roots. The end of the jiva is self-knowledge. When the jiva understands, oh, I am a limitless consciousness, therefore karma does not apply to me. And then the jiva is free from samsara. It's free from this tyrannic cycle of reincarnation again and again and again and again and again and again. So this samsara chakra ends. So the jiva, this ignorance that ties the jiva to samsara has an end, and it can only be ended by self-knowledge. So there is a way And that's why Shwara has presented us with this revealed scriptural knowledge so that Jiva can use some help to come out of this trap, this self-reinforcing kind of mechanism system. So there is no beginning for the Jiva, but there is an end. And the end is called moksha, the end of samsara, the end of being trapped in samsara. Of course, Ruth, a lot of people many people do not like that concept because they say, oh, but life is beautiful. I'm enjoying a good karma, I want to come back. But the question mark is, we never know when we come back, how we come back, in which kind of circumstance, what kind of parabada is going to be manifesting, what I'm going to have to go through, the condition of the Dharma field. We never know. So we should never take it for granted that life after life is going to be just a easy sailing and then enjoying more, better. No, because life is filled with ups and downs. Even in one lifetime, I know that we may be enjoying great life, and then bang, comes a news like, so, boom. I mean, my mother-in-law, it took her 4 or 5 weeks, try to finish her beautifully and quickly, rapidly, with a brain tumor that was already spread, that gave her no pain, and not even the cognition that she was going to die. She remained a little bit like that, and then slowly she went into coma, and then she departed. So we never know. You understand? Our difficulty is that we want to keep the cake and we want to eat it at the same time. Yeah, that expression. So we want moksha, but we want to be attached to samsara. And this is a contradiction, you understand? Because moksha is freedom from samsara, in spite of samsara, you understand? And brings, at least, it's supposed to bring about the end of this eternal cycle of reincarnation, you understand? But if there is any doubt, or if there is any subtle desire of coming back, we come back. We determine whether we want to come back or not, you understand? So many years ago, Ranji was doing a seminar in India, and there was a friend of mine from Spain who heard about this teaching, and she was really sad and confused. She asked Ranji a question about that, and then Ranji was closing the session, and he did not pay much attention. He did not elaborate much on that. I went to talk to her to calm her down, and I told her exactly what I'm saying now. I say, hey, don't worry, because I enjoy life. I don't want to merge and disappear and never come back. I say, don't worry, because this very desire that you have to come back is going to bring you back. You will not come back only if you come to the conclusion that, oh, thank you, I will pass. Only if you're really 100% sure that you are no longer interested, in having another round. So we are free. We are free even to choose to be bound. You understand? Otherwise, we will not be free. Free will allow us to say yes, one more round, because I want to experience more and more punya. I want to be a great Mahatma. I want to be this and that. You never know that we may have a huge spiritual ambitions. There are a lot of people with huge spiritual ambitions, in the spiritual world. Anything else, Ruth?
Well, sure. What happens when you're free? I mean, just gone. Never mind. I'll write you.
Now, what happens when you are free? You are free, embodied. It's still embodied as a Jivan Mukta or Deha Mukta?
No.
You are free, but you are gone. You melt, you merge and melt in the ocean of consciousness. That is Videha Mukta. But Jivan Mukta is the one who is still associated with the physical body, and he's free. Is that your question?
Yeah. So the jiva is with associated with the body then.
Mm.
The body.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the jiva
Okay.
is still hooked up to the physical body, you know, but he is no longer dependent and attached, you know, to the physical body, because he understands the physical body is just a medium or an agent by which one is supposed to come here, live a beautiful life, and gain self-knowledge and get out of the game. You understand? So he just allows once his or her prarabdha karma to exhaust itself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I get that. I do.
Yeah.
I get that. I get that.
So-
Yeah. Again, the question is, as an unmanifest jiva, is there no unmanifest jiva? It's always merged into consciousness awareness.
Yeah, unmanifest jiva always has to become a manifest jiva until the manifest jiva through a living incarnation, you know, working through the Dharma.
Okay.
Understand?
So as you say, there's no beginning, but there is an end.
There is an end to the individual jiva.
Okay, that clarifies it.
Yeah, to the individual jiva. This is also a good point because there are a lot of notions that moksha or self-knowledge could happen collectively due to some energetic, you know,
Yes.
shift.
Yes.
Or these are all fantasies, you know. The
Okay.
creation of the jiva is a function of one's personal efforts to understand one's nature.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome. So, does anybody else have a question? I don't think I got any other email.
Arlindo, just to clarify the theme, the topic of the jiva. Jiva means individual, or what does it mean, jiva? Exactly.
Jiva, the technical description of a jiva, jiva is an object that appears within consciousness, but it is an object with three bodies: causal, subtle, and physical body. A jiva is an object with three bodies, and since it has a subtle body, is a sentient object. What is a sentient object? Is an object that perceives its environment and reacts to it. As we know, a cup, for example, is not sentient because it does not interact with its environment, and it does not make a decision like, oh no, I want to go to the toilet now, please give me a break. It does not have that kind of thought. It does not produce thoughts, you understand? Because it's tamas, it's basically mostly tamas. Subtle body requires a lot of sattva guna, as we know, and rajas as well. So jiva is an object that appears within the scope of consciousness, and it has three bodies. Three bodies.
Okay, so
when the jiva is deprived of the physical body, like my mother-in-law, she left the physical body. Now she's no longer called a jiva. She's called an individual soul. You understand? She's gonna need to bring about, you know, in this venture with Ishwara, she's gonna need to fabricate another physical body so that she can become another jiva. You understand? And most probably my mother-in-law will have a good life because she was so beautiful. I think I have mentioned to a few of you sometime. One of the most beautiful beings I have seen, you know, all the time, contribute and giving. She does not know anything about karma, dharma, or Vedanta, but she is a karma yoga without knowing that she's a karma yoga. She is not really a karma yoga because karma yoga is the one who wants moksha and knows that karma yoga is just an intermediary. She is just a beautiful, spiritual, religious soul that loves God and appreciates Dharma, and it's all the time being fair, just, and giving value and contribute, you know. So she's not a jiva right now. She will become a jiva when time is the soil, the circumstances are fertile for that. And then?
And what is so the eternal jiva? Because Ramji, I heard him say, he talks about the eternal jiva.
Yeah. So
what is an eternal jiva?
The eternal jiva, I mean, this universe is composed by three principles. It is Ishvara, Jiva, and Jagat. And these three principles, they work, they exist forever, you understand? So all souls of the universe, you know, they just again and again, they manifest new names and form, new forms, and new form. It's an eternal principle. And fundamentally, you know, it is beginningless, but it has an end, not as an eternal principle. The eternal principle remains. When the individual soul frees itself from samsara, the other jivas, they remain attached and bound to samsara. Oh, this is not fair. I mean, it was nice if those notions, you know, that we pick up here and there in the Buddhism, for example, you know, that you can enlighten yourself, and then a lot of people are going to be enlightened around you, and then your freedom is going to produce freedom. No, it's an individual results of one's personal spiritual efforts to understand. You understand? So it is eternal as a principle, but it is individual, you know, because every soul, in another language, there are some other spiritual structures that presents the macrocosmic causal body as the overall soul, the body of all souls, overall souls, and all the individual souls, you know, finding they receive the status as an individual soul from this overall soul. You know, they are all connected to the overall soul. You know, exists one soul. This one soul is the eternal jiva that somehow, in order to manifest, it needs to manifest as many. And this many is not by chance. It is properly kept in account in a way that, you know, every soul needs to work for its spiritual elevation and for its freedom and in the end. Understand? So it's very simple, this thing about the eternal vision, jiva. It may appear to be mystical or confused. No, it's an eternal principle, because the universe exists always, manifesting and manifests. And when it manifests through the power of Ishvara, the Maya that produces Ishvara, Jiva, and Jagat, the field for the Jiva to play. You understand? It exists since it's not a timeless, it's a timeless thing, because time, you know, time comes every time that Brahman wakes up into a new cycle called the universe, so to speak. You know? Do you understand, Claudio?
Yes. Now it's more clear. Because with Ramji, I don't understand it very, very clearly. I thought that Jiva was simply the fact that there are individuated objects in the universe. So I don't, now you say me that this must be associated with the three bodies.
Yeah.
So I was thinking that the eternal jiva was like the fact that in the universe everything appears, like everything is separated. So I don't understand it very clearly. So it was good now, because
you see all the objects in creation, they are there, and they don't become individuals. You know, all the other jivas besides the human jivas, they don't become individuals. They don't become person. They don't have karma. They don't have a history. You know, So they don't have any of that. So we become an individual only when we develop this notion that I exist, you know, and I know that I exist, and then I have to define myself, and then I define myself as the body, and then I feel limited. You understand? So the individuation of the jiva exists only from the standpoint of the human jiva. All the other creatures, the other birds and everything, they are just singing their songs and doing what they are designed to do without any sense of individuation. You understand? So the individuation happens only to the human jivas.
But so animals, can we say that animal is a jiva or not? Can we say
is a
that or
jiva.
not?
It is a jiva, but the laws of karma do not apply to the animal. You understand? Why? Because they do action, they respond to the environment, but they don't have this I thought that claims I am the doer, I'm the thinker, I'm the author, you know, of my action, and it's my life, my history, my karma, and so on.
Sorry, but
animals,
it was, I don't understand your answer. It was cutting the audio. You say yes or no? Can we call it jiva or not? I don't understand.
The other animals, the other jiva, the insects, the plants, the trees, anything, you know, the fish.
Okay.
Everyone is a jiva. Why? Because they are sentient beings.
They are sentient, yes.
And they respond to their environments. You understand? They are sentient beings. So they are jivas. But karma, the laws of karma do not apply to them. The ethical, moral laws do not. They don't have psychological or karmic kind of conflicts and so on. They follow their nature. They follow the program. They do what they do. One fish eats the other fish, and then a bigger one eats this one, and then a bigger one. You understand? And there is no sense of guilt in none of that. They are just following their nature. They don't have this thought, I exist and I am choosing what I'm going to do. It's only when we identify as the doer and we have this power to choose that we fall into this. I got you, Ruth, and we fall into this notion that you know, that I need to do something to protect myself, secure and complete, and so on, and you know, avoid my death. So it is this I thought, I exist and I know that I exist, and this I thought is based on my body. I am the body. You understand? That's how duality appears. The moment consciousness identifies with the body, the other bodies appears in this paradigm of space and time. Understand? Mm-hmm. Yes, Ruth?
Could we say that it's a function of the ego? It's a function of the ego then, this identification with the mind body? Yeah.
Yeah, the ego, yeah, it's a function. The ego is a byproduct of this identification, or the ego is the one that is again and again feeding this identification. So the ego appears in the little baby, the little kid at the age of 2 or 3 years, when he understands that he exists as the body. Before he exists more or less spontaneously, and they for some time they refer to themselves in the third person. And then one time they realize, I, the body, you know? And then when they understand I, the body, and then they start seeing, oh my God, and mom says that I'm beautiful. Mom says, no, you know, there is something wrong with you. Or mom says, yes, you are beautiful, you know? And then we start building our sense of identity the moment that we find ourselves as the body. So this is the ego, is the I thought identified with the body. So the same I thought, once it's identified with consciousness, you know, it is free from this ignorance altogether. It's free from samsara, in spite of the body still going about exhausting one's karma. You understand? But then this I thought, although we refer to the body, oh, I'm going to go there, I'm going to go here, I'm going to do this. We know that the consciousness does not go here and there and does not do anything. But we say I, but deep inside, the one who knows that he is consciousness, it is free in spite of the body and the small I thought, which cannot be removed. You cannot go about saying, oh no, don't talk to me because I don't exist and I don't do anything because I'm limitless consciousness. No, you just accept the laws of nature and you behave properly. But deep inside, you know what the I really is. You know that the jiva is not really a jiva. You understand?
Arlindo, can I, if everyone's satisfied, can I change topic? Just
Absolutely.
okay. I'm interested in understanding what the Anandamaya Kosha is doing when you're sitting in satsang. And it usually brings about a lot of, I don't want to use the word bliss, but ananda.
Yeah.
Yeah, and is that, does that fit into the scheme of Priya Moda Pramoda, where it sort of folds all three into one experience, or what's going on there?
Well, when we when we sit in a spiritual environment, let's say, and immediately we experience a more peaceful mind because there is more sattva in a spiritual environment. It may be a spiritual environment based on knowledge, self-knowledge, scriptural knowledge, or it may be something related to a Shaktipat guru and, with a lot of energy and that somehow pacifies the mind of the individual. You understand? So everywhere there is a Sangha, a spiritual Sangha, people get hooked into the environment in which the mind gets pacified. So this sense of contentment, peace, satisfaction, or bliss is inherent on this kind of environments. Okay, why? And in the case of, in our case, our environment, which is a self-inquiry environment, looking to the logic as presented by the scriptures, what does it do and why it brings about this peace of mind? It's because Vedanta or the Upanishad, it's all the time addressing what? Avidya. Huh?
I was thinking it puts you in the company of the truth.
Yeah, the truth.
You're addressing avidya.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, and the truths we are address the truths, more or less in general, indirectly by exposing the false. You understand?
Very good.
That
yes.
the truth can shine. So with Vedanta, we are all the time addressing this ignorance and neutralizing it. So what is ignorance? It's all these thoughts, these vrittis, based on ragas and dveshas and desires, aversions, and these, all these, mental things is resolved every time that we bring knowledge, because knowledge, as well as light, naturally dissipates ignorance. Every time that we engage into knowledge, our own inner ignorance is being dissipated, and then we experience what? A sattvic mind. So what you experience, Lynn, is a sattvic mind. And a sattvic mind, it gives us the possibility to enjoy the reflection of our true nature, you understand? So we enjoy on different degrees, Priya Moda and Pramoda, but it's a Priya Moda and Pramoda generated by Jnana, not generated by energy from the Guru or energy from the Sangha, you understand? It's my effort to try to understand these teachings that neutralize ignorance. So it's a much more valuable bliss, you understand? And this bliss, this knowledge, it's the more hard and fast, the more properly assimilated and retained, and more it produces this stable sense of satisfaction and peace and contentment, which is a sort of ananta, you know.
So a jiva mukti, or jivan mukti, I can't remember, the free jiva, sort of always saturated in the pramoda of the truth.
Well, I mean,
While other things are going
you
on.
see, Ramji, he connects this moksha thing, you know, this moksha business as perfect satisfaction. No? So I like to say almost perfect satisfaction, you know. And because the mind of the yoni is subject to rajas and tamas, you understand? So when there is some sort of mental disturbance, so this pramoda, it becomes reduced in intensity, you know. But what is the difference there between the experience and the knowledge? Is the knowledge does not change. The knowledge is I'm limitless consciousness. I'm not my mental state of priya moda pramoda. You understand? Priya moda and pramoda, or this sattvic state of mind, is a byproduct. It's a bonus, you know, that comes together with self-knowledge. And why? Can you tell me why it comes as a bonus?
No. You tell me.
So who can tell me that?
Because of the Anandamaya Kosha.
Yeah, it's because of the Anandamaya Kosha, but this bliss, this priya moda and pramoda, that it becomes more or less a common state, yeah, mental state of the Jivan Mukta, of the Yoni. It happens because those ignorance, previous ignorance, that what they're disturbing the mind, say, go and get it and go and avoid it. Those energies, you know, they subside with self-knowledge. Self-knowledge kills those vasanas that produce this mental disturbance on a moment-to-moment basis, our desire. So the self-knowledge is always there. The mental state of the yoni can change, but the change in the mental state of the yoni are not like this, you know. It's just like this. You know? So it experiences a sort of satisfaction that Ramji sometimes says, or some scriptures say, perfect satisfaction. I prefer to say almost perfect satisfaction, you know. But what's important to understanding is that the yoni does not depend on that satisfaction. The yoni depends on the knowledge in respect to what he is, which is the nature of everything. You understand? And then that's why we need to again and again establish this distinction between knowledge and experience. And you understand that, Claudio? So you're experiencing bliss because when we do our sessions, we are addressing those bits and pieces of ignorance that depress or stress our mind and becoming an impediment to the appreciation and you know of my own nature as consciousness. So this joy is not present because my mind is depressed or stressed out with my vasanas, my likes and dislikes. You understand? So the yoni is the one that has extensively neutralized those bits and pieces of ignorance, desires and fears, likes and dislikes. You know, and the more clear, the more firm this knowledge is, the less these disturbing energies are present in the mind. So the yoni, it's not like the yoga. The yoga, it requires its constant effort, sadhana, to develop a sattvic mind. So the yoni does not need to do that. That's why yoni usually do not meditate. You understand? Yoni do not meditate because it has resolved its mind by the means of yana. So once you know that you are whole, full and complete. And then those energies that brings about mental discomfort, mental emotional disturbance, they subside, they disappear, they are neutralized, they are canceled. You understand? But then if something happens, sometimes it may disturb the mind of the yoni, but the mind of the yoni, it somehow recovers very quickly because the knowledge is there, somehow like a bumper to take the shocks of life, you know, or airbag that takes it, but it somehow allows the yoni to recover very quickly. Yes, Ruth.
What does that have to do with namaste?
What does that have to do with what?
Namaste. So you said the Yanis don't give namaste.
No, I haven't
Didn't you?
said that. No.
Oh, okay. I misheard.
Yeah. I said that the yoni it does not really is not really concerned with its state of mind, because he or she knows that I'm not my mind. I'm not Ananda Maya Kosha. This Ananda Maya Kosha that we are so fun of. You know, oh, I love my Ananda Maya Kosha. I like my mind, my scientific mind. So that's why we say that the yogis, they are stuck in sattva. Understand? People get stuck in sattva, even if they just they get the sattva without taking any substance. They get it by their own efforts of purifying and controlling the mind, yet they are bound to sattva. Because what's the good of enjoying sattva, if sattva, peace, is not really against ignorance? The moment that you come out of that state, ignorance is just untouched, remains there as it was. We entered in that kind of beautiful Anandamaya Kosha, and then we are ignorantly blissful, and then when we come out, we are ignorantly unblissful. But ignorance remains because we never really addressed the fundamental problem, which is ignorance. Simple, huh? Very, very, very simple. No, it is simple. It may not be that easy.
I was thinking just today, this exactly what you said. I was thinking just today what you say just now, because I see exactly that my problem before Vedanta was that I was really stuck in sattva, and I had this huge vadana for sattva, and I had to meditate, and now it's I meditate sometimes, but only because I enjoy some silence sometimes, but very 80% less than before, and this is one of the greatest things the good things that comes with Vedanta for me.
Yeah, I mean, there is nothing wrong with anything. One must do something while embodied. You know, we have to follow our jiva nature and do something. The problem is to become dependent on this experience, on these objects. You know, I mean, the yoni, the more he's clear about self-knowledge, the less he's tied or dependent on anything. Understand? Because he understands that all these experiences, howsoever beautiful and blissful they may be, it's just an experience. You know, come and go. It's not eternal. It's not permanent. Therefore, I don't want to depend on something that is with me now and not with me later on. So I'm here in São Paulo in an environment where people have a very strong vasana for music, and I understand that because I used to have a strong vasana for spiritual music, and I had some sensibility with my hearing, you know, that music used to brings me into Anandamaya Kosha over and over again. In the old days, I used to go into this bliss through sound, these waves, you know, music, certain music. So is it bad? It was bad for my wife. My wife never really understood that. And I was there putting music, and the music would disturb her. And I want the music on because I would close my eyes, and then my meditation or my blissful state would increase with those kind of songs. But they would worn out later on. I would have to find new songs because after some time we would not have the same effect, right? So what's the problem is that there is no problem. The problem is to depend on that. See, the moment that we depend on something, and then we are bound to something, you understand? So we are bound to something that come and go, something that it's going to varies in intensity, priya moda, pramoda, you understand? And it's not always present. And so it's a stick. So I'm holding on to something to enjoy a beautiful, satisfactory, pleasant state. Understand? So I was mentioning yesterday in our Vedanta class here that as this knowledge, self-knowledge grows, all these things that we somehow we hold on to, you know, in life to experience, all these things they begin losing its appeal. You understand? So I saw all my music. I began losing all my love and interest in music. In the old days, I used to put music to begin the satsang. I used to put my favorite songs at the time to make my mind very sattvic, and then I would play a little bit in the beginning of satsang. It's a trick most gurus use, you know, to bring this kind of music to create the environment, the climate, you know, of the environment. So what the problem is that there is no problem. The problem is, you know, that so if tomorrow we come to satsang and there is no power, there is no music, you understand? And then I cannot enjoy my blissful. So it happens something with the electromagnetic grid of the planet, and then we don't have access to music anymore. And then all the people who are hooked up, dependent on music to get a blissful, people who are not a musician to make their own music. You know, even if you're a musician, what happens if you get old and then your fingers develop some disease and you cannot play your music anymore? Papaji used to say something very nice. He said, attach yourself to anything that's not eternal, and it's going to bite you in the end. You know, we attach ourselves to people, things, place, situations, and events, and then one day things change because immediately everything changes. Things are not all the time available. So nothing, there is no problem with these states of mind. The problem is to get attached to them, attached to sattva, attached to this Anandamaya Kosh, believing that Anandamaya Kosh is the real deal. You are the real deal. The enjoyer of Anandamaya Kosh is the real deal. You understand? So this conscious existence subject principle is the real deal, and this understand is what somehow resolves the problem, the existential problem of the jiva, and somehow as a bonus brings about a mind that is, you know, conducive to satisfaction, peace, contentment, you know, bliss, and so on. Isn't it simple, Karen?
I guess it's simple and it's not simple, you know, depending on how you look at it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's simple. The logic of Vedanta is relatively simple. And that's why it attracts a lot of people. But what's not easy, it's simple but not easy, as Ramji often says. What is not easy is to really, you know, follow through assimilating this knowledge to the extent that that this knowledge sticks, it stays present all the time, neutralizing this ignorance that brings about this mental emotional discomfort. So to hold this knowledge alive in our intellect at all times is not easy, you know. But the knowledge itself, the logic behind the knowledge is simple. It's very simple. But holding that knowledge, because there is this force called avidya that is all the time fighting this knowledge. You understand? Our vasanas are going to come. They are going to challenge this knowledge again and again. The old days I used to say, it almost feels like I'm betraying myself knowledge. You understand? Because ignorance, avidya, comes with everything. The army, you know, of Duryodhana comes with all its power, you know. And then we need to fight back with what? With knowledge. Until this knowledge is shining, alive in our intellect at all times. And then we need to keep it there alive, you know. That's why it's recommended that even after self-knowledge is firm, that we maintain a certain association with the scriptures and with our gurus.
Erlinda, what do you think of the notion that, I'm sorry, my microphone must be very weak.
No, it's not.
Okay, so what do you think? I've heard some people talk about saturating yourself in the knowledge, sort of like in terms of neuroplasticity, that you're actually changing the brain, and that in time the brain makes different connections. And that's why perpetual nididhyasana is a good thing, because it keeps those connections in the brain operating. What does Vedanta say about that?
Well, I mean, the Vedanta does not go there. Vedanta explains to us that everything exists from the subtle to the denser. You understand? So Vedanta works on the intellect, on the mind. You understand? So it does not go there to understand the connection between the intellect, the mind, and the physical, the brain, and its neural connections and this. There are a lot of people that monetarize, capitalize, try to say that enlightenment can be done by understanding the matter, you know, and manipulating matter. No, you can manipulate matter, this and that, but unless you work on the fundamental problem, which is the cause, you know, and the cause is ignorance. The ignorance sits in the intellect. So, and it is the intellect. I mean, in fact, it's even in the causal body. Causal body, subtle body, physical body. So if we want to transform ourselves, we want to go to the intellect, because it's the only place where this knowledge can be done. And then the intellect purifies itself by, you know, assimilating this knowledge gradually, and purifies the vasanas, because this knowledge is going to allow the individual to respond intelligently to the field and develop new spiritual wise vasanas. You understand? So what happens then with the narrow connections of the brain and everything? It begins healing. The true healing must occur from the subtle to the denser. Not to say that we may not, it may be altogether deprived of value certain physical interventions. You understand? But I believe that the health of the body, you know, begins with knowledge, which is different from beginning with a repetition of positive thoughts or mantras. You understand? A repetition of positive thoughts, thinking positively, and developing a new kind of physical brain with different receptors and so on. So all of this may have some impact, but the most effective and the only real effective is to remove all those ignorance that have created mental, emotional, intellectual, and physical imbalance. So all the illness, all the discomfort, it is due to imbalance, due to ignorance. Ignorance is the root cause of all our problems. So you just leave the brain and it is neural connections and hookups and so on. Leave it all to Ishwara. Ishwara knows that. Ishwara tells you, okay, you work on your intellect, purify it. You understand? Purify it, refine it, and then all the rest will follow. Of course, we will not live forever by being a yoni because there are certain laws. There is the law that of deterioration, the physical matter. It comes and grows and then slowly decays and go. But we can remain health to a large extent. There is no healing power. There is no higher, greater healing power than Sattva Guna. This is something I have experienced myself. I mean, nowadays I'm relatively healthy. I used to be very weak in my digestion system. And I have experienced again and again, whenever I would stay in a very sattvic environment for a certain period of time, and my system, my physical digestion system would improve greatly. Sattva Guna has incredible healing power. Not to say that it's going to heal anybody from cancer or make anybody live forever, but it's harmonized the physical body. Disease comes because we have done certain things besides aging, the natural aging process, but it may come prematurely and chronically, like we see in the West, may come prematurely and chronically because we do certain things that break the harmony of the physical body. So the only thing we need to do is to stop doing things that we have been doing that brought about this imbalanced state. You understand? So basically, even on that level, what we need to do is to break away from those vasanas that have pressed me to do things that is unhealthy to my body mind, to my physical body. I'm doing things that is totally unhealthy. Understand? And I cannot win because the vasanas keep saying, no, keep doing, and eat this junk food and eat that, and all these things. And don't exercise, even though everybody knows that exercise is important. So we just need to stop doing what has brought about this imbalanced state of affair in the body, mind. And the best way to do that is by becoming wise, and then by becoming wise means you understand Mithya and Satya, and you respect Mithya, you respect your physical body, you know that your mind is the most important instrument at your disposal to enjoy life, and then you give a good treat to the mind, you give a good treat to the body without obsession. And you leave the rest to Ishwara. You work in here, Lynn. Knowledge, sattva, clarity, wisdom. You understand? And of course, you have to see what is missing in my body, for example. So, I'm not a young guy. I'm already 64. So I have to look into my body and see what's going on. And then recently, thanks to Mr. COVID, Mr. COVID brought into my life the knowledge that I was lacking vitamin D big time. And then I trust a certain doctor and some scientific kind of study, and I went heavily into vitamin D. So since I brought my vitamin D from down, up here, and I have had some other supplements that helps in the absorption of vitamin D, like vitamin K and A and C and so on, and zinc. So my health has somehow improved to an extent that I would never expect. So we need to look in from the physical angle, considering that now, I thought for a long period of time that my digestion system was compromised forever, in spite of those sattva gunas that developed with self-knowledge and my association with the scriptures. So everything counts, but what counts the most is to work on that which calls the physical. What calls the physical is the subtle. The causal subtle calls the subtle, which calls the physical.
So those notions are really getting the cart before the horse, and they're putting the cart before the horse. It's an American phrase.
Yeah.
But they're just downstream from understanding.
Yeah.
They flow from
Yeah.
understanding. Like your vitamin D flows from the knowledge to take it, and then all
Yeah.
yeah. I get it. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, there are some analogies. I used to use analogy like this. Suppose you have a nice tree in your garden, and you love that tree, and then you see the tree got a disease. Understand? And the disease manifests in the leaves. Understand? So, and then you have two options. You may want to treat each leaf of the tree with something, some substance. I say, okay, now this is very good for the leaves, and then you're gonna go there, apply a certain tincture or substance to each one leaves, and then the tree keeps growing more leaves, and the leaves are still diseased, ill. So, what is the best way to treat that tree? Is to somehow access the knowledge that allows you to treat the root of the tree. You heal, you put whatever you have to put to improve the health of this tree. You pour with water in the root, and then the tree and everything, all the parts of the trees, include the leaves, gradually are going to become healthy again. So it does not mean that we may never treat the leaves, understand? But fundamentally, we want to try to treat the root of the tree. Right? So we want to try to treat the root of our life, which is our intellect, because only then we can treat our sort of causal body as well. The causal body can be treated not directly, but indirectly by treating the intellect. Okay? Anything else? Who is there? Let's see who is still there. Okay. Oh, there is Fabio there today. It's me. I did not change the name here. Okay, shall we meet again this coming Monday? Unless somebody has something else. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, Lord. Thank you all. We meet again soon. And I'm sending you the videotape of this class later on.
Thank you, Arlindo.
Much
Thank
love.
you.
Next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kisses.